و تلاش خواهد کرد که زخم‌ها و رنج‌های رو
to escape, taking her to different cities, countries, realities. Now she's writing for other young people in the hope her book can do the same for them.
Now we return to OS, here on the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Hello, welcome to OS on the BBC World Service. Chloe Tilley with you in London. And we're talking today about what's been described as a significant step in the fight against COVID-19. News of an effective vaccine. At least 90% effective, in fact, in the analysis so far. One expert in the UK suggested our lives could return to normal in 6 months. But before we get too excited, the vaccine still has to be approved. We'll have a vaccine expert with us to answer your questions, and there are many of them. And there's also been much reaction around the world. We've just heard US President-elect Joe Biden speaking. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is due to speak shortly.
And hello from Nuala McGovern in a historic black neighbourhood of Las Vegas, as people here contemplate their lives with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris running the country. They have already got to work, as we've been hearing, with an immediate priority, tackling the pandemic. So that's one of our topics coming up shortly.
BBC News. Hello, I'm Tom Watts. The American pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech say their experimental coronavirus vaccine has shown itself to be more than 90% effective in preventing infections. Pfizer's chief executive, Albert Bourla, said it was a great day for science and humanity. The two firms say they have not found any serious issues in late-stage trials. Pfizer's chief scientific officer, Michael Dalston, told the BBC it was an important day for everyone involved.
While I was sitting next to our CEO, Albert Bourla, hoping for high numbers, this certainly was fulfilling our best expectations, and we felt so thrilled. It felt like a historic moment. There are more steps that needs to happen, but we feel that we're on the cusp of one of the biggest medical advances for society and mankind in the 100 years that have passed here.
International stock markets have soared following the news. The Dow Jones in New York gained more than 5% to reach a new high. Here's our economics correspondent, Andrew Walker.
An effective vaccine will have a central role in the return to normal business activity. Pfizer's claim of 90% effectiveness made many investors feel that prospect seems a good deal closer, although the vaccine's success is not yet assured. The news has been reflected in surging share prices in North America and in Europe. Companies in leisure and travel sectors, including hotels and airlines, have been especially hard hit by the loss of business due to the pandemic and have most to gain from getting it under control. They've seen some very strong gains in share prices.
Armenian officials in the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh have confirmed that Azerbaijani forces have taken control of the strategic town of Shusha. An advisor to the region's leader, David Babayan, told the BBC Azerbaijani forces were preparing to launch an assault on the capital Stepanakert. He said the city was being bombarded and ethnic Armenian forces were readying themselves to defend it. He accused the Azeris of trying to exterminate the local population. The president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, has called such accusations groundless. The former long-term leader of Bolivia, Evo Morales, has returned to the country from exile a day after a member of his Socialist Party was sworn in as the new president. He crossed the frontier bridge from Argentina to be welcomed by hundreds of jubilant supporters. Evo Morales left Bolivia a year ago after losing the support of the army following a disputed election. The rerun was won by his former economy minister, Luis Arce. He said he'd spoken to him before travelling to Bolivia.
Last night, almost at midnight, I spoke to him. He was preparing his cabinet. Surely today he'll announce it. I want you to know that the cabinet is his responsibility. He's looking for people he can trust. They will be his family.
World News from the BBC. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia has defended the government's military operation against the authorities in the northern region of Tigray, dismissing warnings it could lead to civil war. Abiy Ahmed said concerns Ethiopia could descend into chaos were unfounded. Military and diplomatic sources say hundreds of fighters from both sides have been killed, but this has not been independently confirmed. More than 50 people are reported to have been beheaded during 3 days of violence in northern Mozambique. Islamist insurgents attacked villages, killing people, abducting women and burning homes. Our Africa editor is Mary Harper.
In the village of Murti, the jihadists embarked on a 3-day killing spree. Local sources say they converted the football field into an execution ground. From Friday night till Sunday, they rounded up those who tried to flee, beheaded them on the football pitch, then cut their bodies into pieces. Other villages were also attacked. One is near a town where the military have a base. But despite the violence going on for days, the security forces don't appear to have intervened.
China's ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva has denounced a proposal by Taiwan to send an observer to a meeting of the World Health Organization, calling it illegal and invalid. The United States had urged the WHO to allow Taiwan to attend the World Health Assembly despite Beijing's objections. China considers Taiwan to be part of its territory and has said it will block the island's participation unless Taipei acknowledges it is a part of one China. The Russian Navy has defended the controversial shooting of a bear and its cub on the far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula. It said there had been no other option after the animals climbed onto a nuclear submarine moored offshore. Hundreds of social media users complained about what they said was unnecessary cruelty after seeing an online video of the animals being killed. BBC News.
Hello, welcome to OS on the BBC World Service. I'm Chloe Tilley, live with you from London. Thanks for your company. Now, over the next hour, we'll be threading together the two big stories of the day. One, of course, is the positive news of a COVID-19 vaccine. Many questions remain, and we're going to try and answer some of those with a vaccine expert in just a moment. But we have been hearing plenty of cautious hope being expressed. And hope is something that Nuala McGovern is hearing. She's in Las Vegas, talking to people who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as President and Vice President of the US.
That's right, Chloe, and we were just hearing from Joe Biden speaking in Delaware with the backdrop of Office of the President-elect. I have here with me Trina Johns, who has kindly let us broadcast from the Biz Cafe, although you are crazy busy every morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
How do you feel when I say Joe Biden, President-elect?
I am ecstatic. I am so happy. The United States of America will once be united again, and that's what it's all about.
Tanisha is also here with me. Tanisha Nicole from Power 88, part of the Wake Up Squad, and we are the Wake Up Squad this morning.
Yes, we are in
Las Vegas. But hope is...
There's hope. There's hope. Like I said, as far as we can't breathe, but we breathe a little bit easier, and we're just hoping that whatever has been promised, that they follow through with that, and we will hold them accountable.
It's not about breathing. Even the horrific incident when it came to the killings of black men, when it comes to COVID and how the African-American community has been affected as well. We're going to continue speaking about all those issues. Also a good day as we're hearing about a potential vaccine and FDA approval, which Chloe is also going to speak to us about.
Absolutely, Nuala, and we're back with Nuala in a little while. But let's talk about that major development in the search for coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer and BioNTech are two companies working together to come up with a vaccine. They've been holding trials on more than 43,000 people in 6 countries, the US, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, South Africa and Turkey. And the results are better than most expected. There's such a lot of interest in this, so we want to make sure that all of your questions are answered. So let's bring in another expert to deal with some of them. Dr. Rick Malley is a pediatric infectious disease doctor at Boston's Children's Hospital. Good to have you with us, Dr. Malley. Just put into context for us, if you would, how significant, how exciting this is, because lots of people are starting to get excited, but within the medical community, I know that you're a little calmer.
Well, so first of all, thank you for having me. I think it is a tremendous announcement, and it's a wonderful day for many reasons, while at the same time it's important, of course, to be cautious. The reason for the enthusiasm is that this is, of course, the first time that a vaccine against a coronavirus, any coronavirus, has shown such promising results. And I think until you have a positive result on one of these types of viruses, one has to worry that we may not be able to develop such an effective vaccine. Now, The reason for caution, of course, is that we have not yet seen the data. We don't yet know which members of this very large study were protected, how many of them were over the age of 65, which of course is the highest risk group. And we also don't know how long, even if this protection is confirmed, we don't know how long the protection lasts. But having said that, it's a wonderful day. It's a day of promise and of hope, and I think that many in the medical community as well as the population at large are really rejoicing today.
Well, that's good news. And lots of questions have been coming in, Dr. Malley, which I hope you're going to be able to help us answer. We've been speaking to people all around the world who've been impacted by COVID-19. I mean, I guess on many levels, that's all of us, isn't it? But these are people we've spoken to previously on OS. Let's have a listen.
Hi, my name is Anaya Davis. I'm 23 from Austin, Texas, and I was affected by COVID. I lost 2 family members in the last couple months, and then I actually lost my job in the middle of the summer, out of nowhere. And so hearing that there's a vaccine just really makes me a lot more hopeful that it will completely flip things around and the world will kind of get back to normal a bit. I am, though, concerned about, what happens if we start giving this vaccination out to people and it appears that there are some major health side effects. Will we stop it, or will we continue giving it to people?
In 2050, Rachel. Well, Anaya, thank you for that question. Dr. Malley, it's an important one, isn't it? People will have concerns about side effects and also potential long-term side effects that we might not know about.
Yeah, that's true, and it's very sad to hear the stories like Anaya just described of families being devastated by this virus. So what we certainly don't want is to create false hope. That said, so far, the vaccine from Pfizer and the others that are in late-stage development have all shown, very good care in trying to make sure that we're not missing important, frequent side effects. For rare side effects, the only way we will know is with time and with more people being immunized. And all these companies are going to have to be very careful, even after their vaccines are approved or authorized, to continue to monitor recipients to make sure that there isn't a rare but serious side effect that could not have been seen in the early days of these vaccines. So I think I understand the concern. I think it's a very important one with vaccines in general. We have to make sure that what we're providing to people is a safe, effective vaccine. At the same time, so far, there is no evidence to support some grave, frequent side effects from these vaccines, which I think is all a very hopeful sign.
Well, this is good. You're being very positive. We like this positivity. Let's stick with it. Let's have another question.
Hi, this is Chandra Pajna in Ottawa, Canada. I've been experiencing COVID symptoms since March 16th. My whole family, 3 kids and husband, also experienced COVID symptoms for about 6 months, although they fully recovered. I'm very excited to see the news this morning about the Pfizer vaccine and its very high efficacy rate, because of course I don't feel that we can afford to ever go through this experience again. But I do wonder what the impact of this vaccine will be for people who are still having COVID symptoms or who had a very difficult time recovering from COVID, and whether it will be safe and easy for us to take the vaccine.
Do we know that, Dr. Malley?
So, these are good questions. We don't know yet. I mean, I guess, Chloe, it's important to remind all of ourselves, our audience, that we don't yet really know how efficacious this vaccine is. I mean, these are preliminary results. We have to look at them. I'm glad that I can be optimistic and that we can all be optimistic, but we have to wait for the data. We have to wait for more time to really be sure. And then the question that Chandra is asking is a very important one, which is, First of all, we know that there are people who are developing long-term sequelae from COVID-19, the so-called long haulers that you've heard about. We don't know much about that syndrome. We don't know how common it is. And we also don't know whether these individuals will benefit from a vaccine, could potentially have side effects from a vaccine. So we have to approach those patients with caution. We have to try to understand them better. We have to do more studies to understand how we can help them, and also try to understand what role a vaccine might play for that particular subset of individuals who suffered greatly from COVID-19. What we also need to know is, and this I think is very important, is what age groups are most likely to benefit from this vaccine, because as you know, the most critical aspect of vaccination is to try to protect the most vulnerable. And so far, because the press release has just been issued today, we really don't know what the breakdown of cases has been depending on the age. And I think that's going to be very important information that I believe Pfizer is going to be able to provide us very soon.
Dr. Malley, thank you so much for coming on and answering some of those questions which we've been receiving. Dr. Rick Malley, paediatric infectious disease doctor at Boston's Children's Hospital. We will, throughout the course of the week, be answering your questions about this vaccine. So if you want to get in touch via WhatsApp, it's country code 4477 30 75 1925, and we'll try and answer as many of those as we can throughout the course of the week. But let's talk a little bit now about the economic impact. Positive one, seemingly so far, on the global stock markets, but let's talk about what that really means. BBC's international business correspondent Theo Leggett is with us. Just explain to us why a story like this about a vaccine, a positive news story about a vaccine being developed, means the stock markets go up.
Well, Chloe, if you look at what's been happening in economies around the world since the beginning of the COVID outbreak, it's easy to see why the markets are a little bit drunk on excitement at the moment. The COVID outbreak has been devastating for economies around the world. It created a really sharp drop in economic output because we weren't able to move around, we weren't able to go to the shops, we weren't able to travel, all that sort of thing. So while people are staying at home, they're not spending as much money. Yes, they can spend money online, and some online businesses have done very well. But cafes and restaurants, they can't make any money. Airlines, they can't make any money. Businesses that rely on tourism, they can't make any money. Cruise businesses, hotels, all of these businesses have really suffered throughout the COVID outbreak. And without a vaccine, the outlook for them is pretty grim. I cover the airline industry a lot, and some people within that industry have been basically in despair. They're not expecting things to get back to normal for several more years. So when you get news like this, that there might be a vaccine, it might be effective, and it might be in place soon, suddenly investors are thinking, oh, well, these businesses that yesterday had a bleak future, now their future looks a little bit better, so if I invest in those companies, that's a good thing, and the share prices rise, which is why we've seen shares in International Airlines Group, for example, which owns British Airways in Iberia. Its shares were up 25% today. EasyJet up 36%. Carnival Cruises up by a lot as well. It's a gesture of enthusiasm. It's investors thinking, okay, we've had this big economic setback, but with a vaccine, we can start to move forward again.
Theo, good to speak to you over, because you just make it really clear and just simple for simple people like me to understand. That's the BBC's international business correspondent, Theo Leggett.